Hey guys, what's going on? RJ here with you for another King of Fighters 98 Ultimate Match Online character introduction video. And today I'm going through my backlog and I'm going to get to this guy right here, Flame Kyo. I'm going to have to go into his gates. His S-Max isn't available on Global, so excuse if I'm a little off with what the translation is giving me. I'm going to use KOF98 to get into his S-Max. The other gates are released, so let's jump into this guy. He is the cornerstone of the new Four Souls formation, currently held by Crazy Ori, but this guy replaces him pretty badly and blows him out of the water. Absolutely. So he's an API 15 DPS fighter. Um, he's got his crit power is actually pretty high. Some of these other stats are boosted from runes and stuff like that, but naturally his crit power is actually pretty okay. Um, and his feature is he dispels demons and evils, pure justice. So he's fighting for justice for us here. He's part of the protagonist fate with Flame Kyo, Ash, and Shunny Boy. He's probably going to get released next, but please don't chase bosses for fates. It's not worth it. Kusangi Arts, Flame Kyo, Shingo, and Saizu. Pretty easy there. Clone Kaio. We got Flame Kaio, and Kyo Ness. So we got all the Kyos in there, right? His Kyo bracelet for his weapon. He uses flame badges, scorching tomes, pretty common with any of the flame fighters. And then right into his skills. I've deactivated my gates, so these are his normal skills, no gates. His skill attack, Fireball, attacks a single target, which cannot be blocked or resisted. Adding Kyo's Fire, which reduces 50% healing rate, costing them 8% of their max health each round for 2 rounds without increasing rage. And it gives him a Fire Shield effect, which increases his own 30% damage reflection and HP drain for 2 rounds. And it also has a 50% chance to stun a target. During the Flame Kyo effect, release small skill and promote to Demon Slaying Flame. That'll last for 2 rounds. So that's really amazing. This Demon Slaying Flame we'll get to in a second, but it basically, I think, doubles the amount of HP that gets taken off with the burn, which is an insane number. His passive, it's a normal API 15, it's attack and HP. His ultimate here, Kusangi Serpent, attacks a column, increases his own 20% damage rate and resistance rate, reduce the target column's 200 rage, and reduce their rage recovery speed by 90% for 1 round. So that takes away their rage, and they really aren't getting it back. He also adds Kyo's Fire on whoever it hits. It will also dispel a debuff on a controlled fighter on your own side, and it doesn't even have to be a full control. He'll target controlled fighters first, but if somebody has flame on them or whatever, it'll take that off as well if there's nobody controlled. So it does always debuff somebody when he uses his ultimate. If a leader or sworn enemy is on the enemy side, trigger Flame Kyo effect. All Kyo's fires on enemy side refresh and upgrade to Demon Slaying Flame. And this is it right here. Demon Slaying Flame is the burning damage increases by 100% when it is over or dispelled by a fighter other than Flame Kyo. The target's damage rate and resistance rate decreases by 20% for 2 rounds. So even if, like, an Instinct Diori pops this off of somebody, whoever it gets taken off of, it's going to reduce their damage and resistance rate. So pretty good. And it Awaken to greatly increase its effects. In special cases, you can trigger an interconnected team-up ultimate with Instinct Diori, and it's basically if I don't know what it is. They both need their weapon, and it's not that awesome of a team-up. The KOF bosses down here are the ones that will trigger the Flame Kyo effect if they're in the match on the enemy's team. this effect, that the whole stage will go burning and all the flame damage goes up and whatever. So it's actually a really good ultimate. The burn damage is just insane. Like, to give you an idea, before the demon slaying flame comes on in my arena matches, his burning does about 250,000 damage per burning stack, and then with the flame demon slaying flame, whatever it is, the flame Kyo effect, it goes up to a good 500,000 plus, like a good half mil damage per burning tick. So I mean, if you ultimate a guy, put a flame on him, and then you use your skill right after because it's guaranteed, that's 2 ticks already. That'll do 1,000,000 damage, like, easy. This guy's, the burning on him, it's actually significant. One of the first fighters to have a significant burn. And then Flame Kyo, his passive here, this is where it gets into the 4 souls effect. He increases your own front row fighter's damage rate and the back row fighter's resistance rate. If only Flame Kyo is deployed, like in tournament, he takes both effects at the same time. If Instinct Iori is on your own side, effect reduces by half. So you only get half of whatever the percentages are down here, so you don't gain much by using Instinct Iori at the same time. It actually evens out because they both have this condition in there, so both of their passives get reduced by half, but it works out to like a full 100%. So you don't gain buffs by using both of them, right? Each round recovers 10% max HP for a random fighter that doesn't have max HP on your own side, and if only self is deployed, effect reduces by half, so he'll heal himself for like 5% a round if he's in tournament or something like that. After round from the beginning of round 2 forward, he recovers 100 rage at the start of a round for a random fighter without full rage on your own side. And again, in tournament, this is reduced by half, but he gives himself 50 rage every turn in that situation. And during Flame Kyo effect, Flame Kyo himself gets a bonus 20% attack and defense. When deployed, if only one fight soul is missing from your formation, so that's Tiger, Bear, Viper, Tortoise, Flame Kyo gets all the effects of this fight soul and is considered that fight soul. So that basically means you only need 3 individual fight souls on your team. So if you had like Turtle, Snake, Tiger, right, and then Flame Kyo would then become a bear and would still be considered a 4 souls formation, right? So you can actually have 3 of one fighter, one fight soul, and then have 2 others. So this basically opens it up to making 4 souls easy. It's going to be real easy to make a 4 souls formation with this guy, and that's the whole point of him, right? But if all 4 fight souls already exist on your own side, Flame Kyo gets some effects of all 4 fight souls, becomes immune to control in round 1, and is considered a vacuum fight soul. So this is actually the most beneficial thing. Like, you want to have Kyo as a vacuum fight soul, but if you can't do it, it's not that big of a deal. And his captain skill is after Flame Kyo's fight soul evaluation, where it decides what soul he's going to be. If all 4 fight souls exist on your own side, increase your whole team's 30% ultimate resistance for 2 rounds. And can't take an effect at the same time as Crazy Ori's skill. And down here you can see what he'll raise everybody's passively by. He increases the front row damage by 25%, increases the back row resistance rate by 16.72%. This is at level 113. So yeah, it's pretty good. Once we get into the gates, this passive gets a lot better. There's a couple of things that change. I don't want to read the whole textbook thing again, but we'll get there in a minute. This is his fight soul. It's the Kyo soul. Each round, he recovers 180 rage for himself, just for fun at the start of the round, and he also recovers a bunch of health for himself at the start of a round. So that will combine with right here where he recovers 10% max HP for a random fighter each round. He does that while healing himself, right? And in tournament, he'll heal that 5% plus what he heals from the fight soul. And the same thing with this recover rage by 100. He recovers his own rage by 180, and then he'll also give 100 rage to somebody else, right? But in like a tournament situation, he'll be recovering 230 rage every turn for himself. So um, pretty good for helping the team and passing around some heals and rage, right? I rather like it. Yeah, I prefer this guy over Instinct Diori. I don't know why. I never really liked Instinct. He has a really good skill move, but I found his ultimate to kind of, like, it's a high damage single target ultimate, really designed to prevent reviving and transformations, and I just didn't find it super useful. And so yeah, I didn't like him that much. But Flame Kyo, I really like this guy. He's fun. He can make your team pretty versatile in where you can take them. You know, with the types of formations you can set up. So it's not so rigid with the Force Souls. You can have that extra kind of flex spot in there, you know, and avoid the vacuum souls. But anyways, getting into his gates, I'm going to turn that back on now. Getting into his gates. Yeah, well, we'll go to his passive first here. This is a mouthful. But the main things that really change here, the first thing that happens, he still increases the front fighter's damage rate and the back row resistance rate, but there's no condition on this part here. Flame Kyo gets all the effects. So no matter where you put Flame Kyo, like front row, back row, whatever you're going to do with him, he's going to get this bonus damage rate and bonus resistance rate of, you know, the 25% damage rate, 16.72 resistance rate. He just gets that now. That's number one for his passive. This is a very good gate for him. Instinct still reduces the effects by half, right? He still recovers the 10% max HP. The 100 rage doesn't change. But right here, Flame Kyo is immune to burning. Yeah, it's just straight out immune to burning now. That's about it. But he doesn't come with immune to burning to begin with. So, you know, having another burn immune fighter is really, really nice to have, especially in this day and age with all the burns going on. If only one fight soul, if one fight souls exist, that's all the same stuff again. But here, this is where it really changes in his captain skill. If you have all 4 fight souls after the evaluation, your whole team gets now 35% ultimate resistance, up from 30%, but they also get 35% skill resistance rate, which, you know, these are separate modifiers from resistance rate. They're their own category, and so you're not going to run into the problem of diminishing returns on resistance rate, right? These reduce it even further past resistance rate. So your team with 35% alt resistance and 35% small skill resistance is going to be very, very very tanky for those first couple of rounds, and it's kind of necessary in this day and age to have something like that going on. But now, if your side has higher priority, you also get 10% crit rate and pierce rate. But if you don't have priority, it increases your team's 10% block rate and crit resistance rate. So yeah, like a lot of small little bonuses. The fact that Flame Kyo gets all the effects now of his passive. He's now immune to burning. The alt resistance got better, and you have small skill resistance now, and then there's also this priority condition, right? So overall, you know, you want that gate on Flame Kyo immediately. Right there you can kind of stop, and he's going to be okay for a long time, but this is very necessary to get him working the way you want him. And then the Thunder Gate, it's not super special. Basically, it's just a skill attack, and everything else is kind of the same at the top of it. It's just It changes. It now has an effect based on what fight soul he's given. So if he becomes a tiger soul, he gets his crit rate increases by 20% for 2 rounds after using the skill. If he's a bear soul, rage recovery speed increases for 2 rounds, right? If he's a Viper Soul, a normal attack and small skill attack absorb 5% of their max health. If he's a Tortoise Soul, effect of being healed increases by 20%, so that's like even his passive heal, he'll heal more, right? And if he's a Vacuum Soul, so if you already have all 4 souls, the Vacuum Soul, it just straight up increases his skill damage by 50%. Which is probably the best one out of all of them. So, I mean, you're kind of getting a minor bonus if you have to use Flame Q as a Tiger, Bear, Viper, or Tortoise. But if you already have all 4, he just straight out gets plus 50% damage, and this is a very damaging skill move. So I mean, you know, it's a good gate to get, but it isn't super necessary. But the extra 50% damage for Vacuum Soul, very good. And then down here, stay tuned for the water gates, right? I don't want to stay tuned and just boom. Let's just pop over here to KOF98. And so it's down in here. I'm not sure if you guys can read that or not, but the main things to pull out of here, they're already kind of highlighted in orange. Why is it doing that? But it basically, if his ultimate hits a target that is burn immune, like well, Flame Kyo himself, Saki, Ash, there's quite a few other burn immune fighters out there. But if it does hit a burn immune fighter, it will deal an additional 50% damage right here on the ultimate. So they might not be getting the flames on them, but they're going to take an additional 50% damage from the ultimate, right? And then on top of that, the ultimate now causes an additional 8% max HP damage to the target column, right? So huge increase if there's a burn immune fighter, because that's something that really hurts Flame Kyo when you can't put the flames on somebody. And then there's just the straight up 8% max health damage to each fighter. But then on top of that, you're going to know that 300 is normal. That's from the weapon. Sorry, I'm just going to back it up here. The weapon for Flame Kyo, I don't have that. It'll give you an extra 10% damage resistance rate, and then it'll increase the amount of rage reduced with his ultimate to 300, up from 200. Right, so it's a fairly normal weapon. It isn't super necessary, but you will need it on your path to S-Max if that's what you're going for. But his weapon, I find it isn't super necessary, but it's nice to have, right? So anyhow, getting back to the S-Max, the reduced 300 rage, that's normal, but the thing that changes is it now freezes rage gain for 1 round. Instead of reducing it by 90% so they can still get a little bit of rage back, it's just frozen now. There's no rage gain. It completely reduces it to 0 rage gain for a round. So it really shuts people down, reduces 300 rage, and freezes their rage gain. So that is a huge buff. And then down here, I'm not exactly getting this, but I'm 90% certain that it reads that when somebody has dispelled his flames during his skill attack, it's kind of like if somebody's burn immune, his skill attack damage is going to do 30% extra damage on top of the plus 50% from the Vacuum Soul thing in the gates, remember? So if somebody's burn immune, his skill damage is going to go up by 30% and also dispel the target. So that's kind of an extra buff in there. So overall, is his S-Max really super worth it right now? It can be. I mean, but there's definitely there's definitely other fighters that might want to get their S Max done first, because the main benefits from his S Max is you're gonna do a whole lot more damage to burn immune targets. That's the main thing that his S Max is bringing, along with completely freezing rage for a turn. I mean the extra 8% max HP damage that can add up. But it's to me the main thing that you're going for in the S Max is that you hate fighters that are burn immune, and maybe you're fighting a lot of them, and so it would make sense to absolutely get that, so he's going to be taking them down a lot faster, right? Um, so I mean, yeah, if you're going to do Force Souls, definitely get him. I honestly think this Force Souls formation is better than the Instinct Genesis formation. Um, Matter of opinion, I guess, but it's more so how you want to build your team. But I find that this guy allows the most flexibility in team formation right now. So if you're still wondering about team formation, stuff like that, this guy will last you for a while. The next formation boss, Mizuchi, he won't be out for at least over a year. So I mean, um, the Flame Kyo is going to get a lot of use, right? Um, so that's about it for Flame Kyo today. Hope I've been somewhat informative, and hope I'm not too badly wrong with the translation on his S Max, but I'm 90% certain that that's what it is. So I'll see you in the next one, guys. Peace.